Erin, the behavior coordinator here at the Denver Animal Shelter, and today we're going to learn how to teach a dog how to sit from a stand. We're going to need three things for this. First, we need a dog. Second, we need some delicious snacks. And third, we need our training plan. But before we get started, let's cover how we're going to train. We always want to start at step one, which is something that most dogs can do successfully. We are going to repeat each step 5 times. Depending on how many he gets right will determine if he moves to the next step, sticks on that same step, or drops to the previous step. If he gets most of them correct, which is 4 or 5 out of 5, we're going to push to the next step. If he's at about half, which is 3 out of 5, we're going to stick on that same step. If he gets 2 or fewer, we're going to drop to the previous step. What we also want to make sure of is that we have a quiet body. That means we're not flapping our arms, we're standing up nice and tall, and we're not moving around more than we need to. We also want to make sure we're training as fast as possible. If there's too much time in between each repetition or each step, the dog might get bored or distracted and find something else to do. We also want to make sure that we're using treats that motivate the dog. This is hard stuff in a distracting environment, and most dogs don't know these behaviors yet. So we want to use something like string cheese or hot dogs that really gets his interest. Don't be afraid to shop around for different treats if what we have here at the shelter isn't working. If he's not willing to take a freebie, so he won't take a treat just given to him, it means he's too distracted or not hungry enough to train. If that's the case, we want to put the training plan away and just spend some time socializing with the dog or take him for a walk. We do recommend that you work with the dogs on training plans before they've received their evening meal so that they're more motivated by food. One thing we also want to do is anytime we're asking the dog to do something, we're going to give him as long as he needs to figure it out. This means we're not going to repeat the lure or the cue, we're just going to give him an opportunity to think it through. Sometimes that might mean we're standing in position for a while, but we're going to give him an opportunity to figure it out on his own. If he does, great, we're going to mark with yes and give him the treat. If he gets bored or distracted or wanders off, starts sniffing the floor, that means he's given up on that repetition. We're going to mark too bad and move on to the next one. Over time, the dog is going to learn that too bad means he lost an opportunity at the reinforcer. Our end goal with this behavior is that the dog will sit not just for the verbal cue, sit, but also for a hand signal. Here's what the hand signal for sit looks like. With us standing in front of the dog and our arms straight down at our side, palm facing forward, we're just going to draw our hand up. Step one is with you standing in front of the dog. We're going to demonstrate on a stuffed dog so that you guys can see the angle, but don't worry, there will be a live demonstration later in the video. We'll also give you some tips and tricks on what to do if you get stuck on some of the steps in the plan. So step one, we're standing in front of the dog with our delicious food snack right in front of his nose, and we are going to draw a line up and back over his head. We're going to move this relatively slowly so that he has an opportunity to follow it. And what this is going to do is cause him to crane his neck back and his bottom down so that he can follow the lure. Once his bottom hits the floor, we're going to mark yes and deliver the treat. Once he's fluent on that step, we can move to step 2. Step 2 is a bigger, more exaggerated version of that final hand signal. This is what it looks like. Step 3 is that smaller hand signal. And then step 4 is adding the verbal cue. We always want to add the verbal cue last. The reason for that is we want him to learn that the verbal cue, sit, predicts the hand signal. Over time, he will just start sitting for the verbal cue, and you won't even need to give the hand signal. What this looks like is that we're going to say sit, pause for 1 to 2 seconds, and then show him the hand signal. Once he sits, we will then pay him. The final step in the plan is to require the dog to sit just on the verbal cue for him to earn that food reward. If he requires the hand signal, he's just going to get verbal praise. This will give him more motive to sit just on the verbal cue. Many of the dogs here at the shelter probably won't get to this step during their stay. But now that we've talked it through, let's see it in action with some live dogs.
Want a Snackers? Yes, you do. Good job. Okay. Yes. 1 for 1. Good job. Oh, let me fit all of you guys. There you go. Yes. 2 for 2. Yes. 3 for 3. Good girl. Yes. 4 for 4. You're such a smart tulip.